Bingo. Here. Karen Stiltner. Here.
Thank you, Mr. Britton, recognition.
First we'll do the Superstar Employee of the Month. Kelly Williams, will you join me up here, please? I'll read some very nice things about you. Before I do, I'll preface this with you had the world record for the most nomination forms ever. So you are loved and blessed by your staff. Over a dozen nominations this month. Congratulations. It says, thanks to Kelly's leadership, the daycare program earned a 5-star rating according to the Great Start to Quality standards. Kelly always has a smile on her face. She goes out of her way to help others, and she consistently goes above and beyond the call of duty. Congratulations, Kelly. Thank you.
Congratulations. I hope I get everyone's name right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. One for you, but I don't. Thank you.
Someplace warm.
Oh, nice. There you go. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it very much. Thank you, Mr. Lacrosse, for all your support. Thanks for everything.
And if you and your fine group of supporters would like to stay for the rest of the very interesting school board meeting, you're welcome to, or you're welcome to grab a cookie and take off if you want.
Okay.
Am I in your way?
No, I'm right in the hole, so it's good. Thank you.
Next we have, we asked Pat Yanik from St. Clair County RESA to come and talk to us about the tech millage. He was supposed to be here last month, but last month's polar vortex precluded his appearance, and even though the election's tomorrow, we're still glad to have you here.
Thank you.
It's your turn.
My assistant Lori Holderby will help pass these out. Thank you, everybody, for the opportunity to speak to you this evening. I'll keep this brief so you can get to your regular meeting. My purpose is to make sure that you're aware of the millage election that takes place tomorrow in St. Clair County, and that you're able to make a knowledgeable decision when you go to the polls tomorrow. So with that, I'll go through my presentation. St. Clair Tech, and all this information is on that handout sheet that I just provided you in a very condensed format. So I didn't print the whole PowerPoint. St. Clair Tech has been in operation since 1976. It is your vocational center in St. Clair County. All of our vocational programs are taught at the center and have been, most of them, since 1976. We don't have any state-approved vocational programs in Algonac. They're all at the area center. Beginning this current school year, all of our Algonac students now attend the AM session at St. Clair Tech. We serve all of the high schools in St. Clair County. Private, parochial, homeschool students are all have St. Clair Tech available to them. I should also mention we average about 800 students a day, and we've been operating on a charter millage that was approved by the voters in 1976, and that charter millage was 1 mil in 1976, and since then it has slowly eroded back to 0.92 mils, so 9/10 of a mil. These are the programs that we currently have available at Tech. They're also on your sheet. And the main thing we want you to see there is that beginning in 2008, we began cutting programs, any programs with low enrollment, any programs that the employment opportunities were not what we thought they should be. Those programs were cut. And we've cut back to the place where the programs are left, are programs that are full, and our most recent concern is that we've got quite a few programs with waiting lists. And so for several years, we've had students that have wanted to come to Tech that haven't had the opportunity to come to Tech because there's not enough room in the facility for them. At Tech, our mission is to provide students with the technical, academic, and employability skills for them to be able to compete in a global economy. And to be able to do that, we make sure that our students have the academic skills that employers are looking for. So we help all juniors, we pre-test them with the work keys assessment, and we assign them instruction that's computer-based to help fill in their academic gaps wherever they might be and help them prepare for the work keys portion of the Michigan Merit Exam. Once they take the exam as a junior, we take their score, and their senior year, we give the students the opportunity to improve their academic score. The reason for that is employers have told us that it's important that not only do we need students that can weld or fix your car or cook, but we need students that have the academic skills to be able to be successful in those areas as well. And this helps the employer to know that the student has those academic skills as well as the technical and employability skills. This is something that we're really proud of at St. Clair Tech. 97% of our students last year were either 1 year after graduation, were either working, going to post-secondary training in their related field, or both. And as good a number as that looks like, that's a state and a national number. And the reason for that is students that take career technical education courses have a tendency to stay in school. School becomes relevant to them. They do better with their academics at the home school while they're in school. And they tend to go to work and or continue their education after high school. That's not unusual at the national level. I think the number is 94% of CTE students. We encourage all of our students to participate in some type of student competition. The reason for that, it does several things for us. It helps the student to see how much they're actually learning while they're at Tech. It helps us to know that our students, that our content is aligning to national and industry standards. So if they can compete on a national level, it helps validate our instruction, our teachers, our programs. We've had 37 national champions since 1976. That's averaging one a year. This last year, we had 2 national champions and a second place. Young man on the left is a national champion in CNC milling. Young lady in the middle, a national champion in nurse aid competition. And the young man on the right, second in the nation in collision repair. We think it's pretty amazing that kids from St. Clair County can not only represent the state of Michigan at a national contest, but can go on and become the best in the nation at what they do, and they've learned it here in St. Clair County. We think that's pretty important. Okay, here's the problem. The blue piece of the pie shows that 76% of our revenue for vocational education comes from local property tax. We get a little bit of money from the federal government and a little bit of money from the state, but the lion's share of our revenue comes from local property tax. Now, the good news is that has worked well for us since 1976. While we've had good years and bad years, we've had to make cuts, we've had to do layoffs previously. It's never gotten so bad over a long period of time that we haven't been able to ride out the storm by using our fund balance. We have been using our fund balance for the last several years, since 2008. And what we know is that the projections that they're showing us are that the fund balance, while we could continue to use it, is not going to last very long. You know, we can do it for another year, could even do it for 2 years. But the inevitable is that the fund balance will run out and we will go into deficit. Now, this is the reason why. What you can see is on the left side, property values were going up from 2004 to 2008. And then beginning in 2008, property values began to drop. And they've continued to drop. And that's bad news, but that's not all of the bad news. The really bad news is now that property values have begun to go back up, taxes cannot go up, even though property values could go up as quickly as possible. Taxes on those properties cannot go up more than 5% or the rate of inflation, whichever is less. Which means in St. Clair County right now, that's less than 2%. That's the rate of inflation right now. So even though your property value could go up 10%, your taxes cannot go up. And that's Proposal A legislation that limits that from happening. It's because of that we know that even on a very best case scenario, that it's going to take at least 10 years of property value increases for the property values to get back to the 2008 level. And even though your property values could go up right away, taxes can't. And those taxes will take a long time to go back up. It's because of that RESA in November, the RESA board decided that we needed to, before we would continue to cut programs and lay off staff and tell the local districts that students are going to stop taking as many students to tech, before we would do that, we needed to first present this to the voters and let the voters decide whether or not they wanted us to continue to keep the programming by passing a millage. So we decided to put a 4 mil increase on the ballot. And not 4/10 of a mil, 4/10 of 1 mil. And what that means to the voter, you can see up there on the screen, is if your home is valued at $100,000, it's taxed at $50,000, 4/10 of 1 mil would be a $20 increase in your taxes per year. If your home is valued at $200,000, taxed at $100,000, it would be a $40 increase. Now the part that's hard to comprehend, I've heard over and over and over, the argument against this tax increase is that, my taxes keep going up. I'm not in favor of my taxes going up. Well, the reason we need this 4/10 of a mil increase is because your taxes have been going down. Your taxes have been property taxes have gone down 30% since 2008, which means people's taxes have been going down at that same rate. Now, not everybody's going to be the same. It depends on where you live. And I don't know if you heard on the radio this morning, Mr. DeGro's on the radio, and he said, look, I understand people don't want their taxes to go up. But if your taxes haven't gone down enough to pay for that $20 or $40, then vote no. But more chances are that more people have had their taxes go down by way more than that. And what we're saying is to keep the programs open, to keep the opportunities for the students there, we're asking for this 4/10 of a mil increase for 10 years, and then the 4/10 will go away. So this is what the 4/10 will do for the taxpayers of St. Clair County. The first thing is we needed to eliminate the deficit of $1.3 million a year. And so the increase will take care of that. But then there will still be money left over to do two other things. One is the workforce development people in St. Clair County, when we first started talking about this, we gave them tours at Tech. They said, we need more welders. We need more CNC operators. We need more electricians and auto mechanics. Why are you not expanding the programs? You've got waiting lists. Why aren't those kids allowed to go to Tech? Well, it's because we can't afford to have those students in our building right now because we'd have to hire more staff. We've laid staff off, and so what this would do, the 4/10 would allow us to expand programs at Tech in our building right now, and it would also allow us to open up as many as 6 new summer programs for those students that are currently on the waiting list. For the last 10 years, we've had cosmetology program at Tech has had summer classes, and that program still has a waiting list. We doubled the size of it last year. It still has a waiting list, and for 10 years, those students have gone all summer, 7.5 hours a day to St. Clair Tech. So we know students will take advantage of that if given the opportunity to come to Tech, if right now the alternative is that they won't be able to get in. So we think that's a good opportunity for students. And then the third thing would be we would begin to reimburse the local districts for the cost of transportation. We've never done that. The districts have always had to pay the transportation cost to get students to Tech and back every day. It's estimated at about $250,000 that the districts pay total per year right now. But this would also provide for that summer busing transportation too, so that we'd be able to pick that up. So I guess my pitch is this. In St. Clair County, we've met with the Blue Meets Green, the EDA, the Blue Water Chamber, and the superintendents of St. Clair County have all said we need to support the millage. And the reason is because at this time, we're trying to figure out how, as a county, we can make St. Clair County a place where businesses want to come to and bring their families and grow their business. And to do that, we need a well-trained workforce. Tech is that well-trained workforce. It's where students get that opportunity in high school to explore careers and receive job skill training so that they can get that entry into the job market. The other thing is we've got a lot of students, Algonac students over the years that were students of mine, I know, that attend Tech that aren't aspiring to go to college, but they're going to need a job after high school. And Tech provides those students with that opportunity. It's an important opportunity for those kids that aren't sure what they're going to do after high school. And so for that reason, we ask that you support the millage, vote yes tomorrow, and we hope to get this thing passed so that we can have more students from Algonac attending St. Clair Tech in the near future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Nope, I think you did. You think you covered it pretty well.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Can Pat hear me?
Yeah.
I have a question for Pat. If, what happens if the millage doesn't go through? What's RESA gonna do? I'm sure they have a backup plan. What would be the step? Would there be another, go at, increase later on? But can you talk to us about that a little bit?
I'd be happy to. Mr. DeGrow, we've got a meeting scheduled regardless, first thing Friday morning, to talk about if it passes, what's the next step, and if it doesn't pass, what's the next step. And our plan is to take that to the superintendent's meeting this month, our recommendation. Mr. DeGrow has said that if it does not pass, we will not do it again. We won't go for a second time. No means no, and we'll take that as the answer from the voters. What that will mean is we will begin the process of making cuts. We will balance our budget. We will not go in deficit, but it will mean closing programs and laying off staff and turning students back to the high school.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pat. Next, we have the consent agenda.
I make a motion, the Board of Education approves all consent agenda items, including agenda minutes, personnel items, treasurer's report, and bills as listed items A through C. Support.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
I think we can get it.
Thank you. Information items, Mr. Bertoni.
You'll see attached an overnight trip request for the Howell Nature Center. And this is for all three elementary schools, Algonac, Millside, and Fairhaven Elementary. And I think my explanation would not do it justice. Ms. Rawlings, Ms. Hanners, would you care to expand a little bit on what this program is and your plans?
This is an outdoor exploration trip for our fifth graders. They go in, develop leadership skills, and develop teamwork skills.
So it hits on all of the earth sciences as well. So it's a 3-day trip, 2 nights over at Camp Howell. It's also a nice time for all of our fifth grades to get together before that joining at middle school to working together to develop those skills. So camp's been a great experience so far, and we hope to continue that as we go.
I know when you have reported back to us about the events, and we've seen slideshows and everything, it seems like it's a pretty successful program, and the students seem to really enjoy it. And
We're hoping for better weather this year.
right.
You lose power last year.
We did?
They
True
did,
can.
they did, and they problem solved through it, so it's
Very good.
How many students are gonna be participating this year?
as far as I know, all of them. There are a couple that parents do opt out, they choose not to have their children stay overnight. But other than that, financially, sometimes we look for some financial backing for a few students, but we try to make sure everybody's included that wants to.
Thank you very much. The next item is revision of our policy number 1330, which is titled Rules of Order. With the, as you can see, Mr. Busatell is joining us via video conference from California. And I spoke with Brian a week or so ago and asked him if he would do some research for us and find out if there is any statute or law or something that we needed to do to update our policy to accommodate situations such as Mr. Busatell's. And so what you have in your packet is about, that explains what they have. There really is no legal definition of what has to happen. Sharon has told me she has attended meetings at MASB where they have members that call in on a conference call. Being a publicly elected body, that was my concern for Algonac, was we wanted to make sure to be above and beyond compliance with any laws that there are or methods that there should be. And so the part of that you see on the 1330 page 2 that came to you, which our current policy says that a majority of the members elected to, appointed, and serving on the board shall constitute a quorum. Then the portion highlighted in yellow that says would be the part that could be added that say members may participate in meetings via electronic means such as telephone conference calls, computer webcam, or a teleconference arrangement. The quorum of the board must be physically present at the meeting site. The equipment used to participate must provide a real-time two-way audio connection so that the persons participating remotely can be heard at the meeting in site and can hear the discussion at the meeting site. The public must also be able to hear the remotely participating board member. All votes shall be by a roll call vote when any member of the board participates from a remote location via electronic means. A request to participate from a remote location shall be made to the board president, and the decision of the board president shall be final. That's what MASB's recommendation is, that that's the part that Brian picked out that he and I talked about and we think best suits what our needs are. And so I told Brian I would like to have this as an information item so that we can all talk about this. We had Chuck here last week for the workshop, and he was able to ask questions and participate. And he had told me before he left town that he was very concerned about not being able to participate in the search process, and we got Evan and Brian together with Chuck, and this is what we have. And Chuck seems to really like it. Isn't that correct, sir? Except you're on mute right now.
You're coming through loud and clear.
Okay, and so are you, and so that he can participate and be a part of it, just as if any one of the rest of us were going to be away for whatever reason. It should be, if we were want to do this, which I don't have any opposition to it whatsoever. I just want to make sure that if we're going to do this, that we are doing it correctly. It seems like this is a pretty easy fix. So, if anybody else has any thoughts about it, I'd like to hear them. All right. So we'll get that rolling at the next meeting.
In action at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Administrative reports? Board reports? Oh, no. No, you sure?
I'll call on her anytime.
Okay, all right. Board reports?
I just make mention that March 8th, coming up is the annual sports booster dinner auction. Great event, helps a lot of kids in the district. So if you're able to participate, you're more than welcome to join.
Thank you. Anyone else? Superintendent's report.
I've been writing to you all for the past couple of weeks about solutions to some of the issues that we're having with the geothermal systems at the high school and also at the middle school. It's not on the agenda tonight, and I didn't put it on there for a specific reason. Evan and I want to make sure that before we move forward with such a substantial purchase, remedy, fix, whatever you want to call it, that we are 100% sure that we are getting an expert's opinion that is unbiased. Not to say that the engineers that proposed this to us are biased, but in contemplation, the engineers that we've heard from are also installers of the boiler system. And so we want to make sure that we are getting an unbiased opinion, and Evan is working to solicit that opinion right now. And the long and the short of it is that at this point, hopefully, we're praying that the worst of the winter is over. And by the time that this will be installed, would be another 3 weeks to a month. Would that be accurate to say, Evan, at the earliest? And by that time, we'll be into spring. And so there's not an immediate solution. It's not like something they could come in within a day or two, have it installed. That this is a process that will take some time. So I'm not going to bring it to the board for action or for movement until we've solicited that outside opinion from an unbiased engineer. And at that point in time, we will bring it back to the board, let you know what that opinion is. Again, we've heard from several people, and we do believe through troubleshooting that this will help aid some of the issues that we're having, but again, waiting on one more outside opinion on that to solidify for that before we bring it to the board.
What about the people who were there when we did our bond that installed this for us? And how are they helping us, or aren't they? Is there any warranties that go with what they've done? And why didn't they foresee this problem prior to attaching to us?
That's a very long story. There's lots of different layers to that question. We have talked to the project engineers that have done this, and there is a lot of variables that go into this. A couple of the variables include we could have gone deeper, but there are water table issues. We could have gone to vertical wells instead of ones that are horizontal, which would have provided for a higher loop temperature. That would have doubled or tripled the cost. And so there really isn't a pinpoint on this is the reason that this is occurring. You know, the bottom line that Evan and I have heard over and over is that our system is designed to handle 90 to 95% of the weather conditions that are presented. And when you get extremes such as this, there are issues that can pop up. And this winter, I think we'd all agree, has been quite extreme. And because it's been so extreme, we're seeing our loop temperature get to this level. And when it's at this level, multiple issues are being presented. You know, sensors are causing compressors to pop, and we're having actuators that are going before they should. And again, it's our opinion that with the loop temperature at a 15 to 20 degree rate lower than it is right now, we can't say that it is the only issue, but it's definitely a prevalent issue. It's causing the system to age and to work a heck of a lot harder than it really should be. And having these alternative boilers in there would definitely help aid in raising that loop temperature and making sure that the water that's going to the unit is much more to par than it is right now.
So we've defeated our purpose of going geothermal because we're going to add boilers.
Well, that's not entirely true. Your question was the same one I asked in my head. So the minute we started having these, I had Lori run an analysis for me. She contacted our consultant to see, you know, are we truly saving money still with geothermal? And the answer is yes, we are. What we're really seeing now is an inverse relationship between power usage and gas usage. Our gas usage has gone way down, and our power usage has gone way up because we're running these gigantic generators for these pumps. And we are still saving money right now with it. If it's running to optimum performance, we would be saving X more. And so when you're installing these boilers, are your gas costs going to go up? Yes, but the analogy is this: if we're just running this system on our boiler, it's kind of like holding a match to a swimming pool. There's millions of gallons that run through this. But as the winter gets cooler, this boiler can help sustain the temperature rather than bringing 30 degrees up to 50 degrees. It'll help keep that temperature sustained where it needs to be rather than trying to grab a low temperature and bring it up 20 degrees. So again, right now where we're at, if we brought the new boiler systems in to bring the temp from where it's at currently in the 30s up into the 50-degree range, would be astronomical gas costs because it'd be running continuously. But this will be more of a preventative system in the future. When it does start to get into those areas that are lower, it can then help support. And so again, are we gonna have a higher gas cost? Yes, but then inversely, we have a lower power cost because it's not stressing enough. And Evan, anytime I'm misspeaking here, make sure that you're chiming in.
You're doing great.
No, thank you, I appreciate that. And so, yes, there will be an increased cost in the gas, but that would hopefully then bring the power cost down as well too. And if we can get that balance happening, that's when we start realizing some of the increases in savings that we had expected. So are we saving money? Yes, as much as we'd like to, no, but we think that's because the system's not operating at the optimal efficiency.
And there's nobody that we can go back after that, say. Performance isn't much of a-
No, not at this point. We've exhausted all of those options, trust me. We've tried to pin and lay blame and consult, but the realistic answer to it is that when you are dealing with such extremes, then it's wise to have a backup system to assist you with those extremes. And the opposite is also true as well too. At some point in education, year-round school at those levels may be a possibility, and it might not be next year, but 10 years down the road. If you had a summer where it's 100 degrees every single day, you're gonna have the exact problem, the opposite. Your loop temperature is gonna get to a point of heat where it's going to be high enough where it's going to be hard to pull out of that, and you may have to get cooling towers as well too that would help support that. And again, that's extremes and something that we haven't run into obviously because we're not educating students during the peak periods of summer, but it's definitely a possibility. It's one of those preventative measures that you may never need, but when you have these extreme temperatures, it can help elongate the life of your system and help you maximize the efficiency of your system. So again, we're really looking for another outside engineer to take a look at this and say, yes, you guys are on the right track, and we believe this is an investment that could be wise for your system before we move forward on it.
Now, this system came online in 2009, correct? Well, we passed bond in 2007, built it in 2008, and started to really come online in 2009 when we had control.
Yes.
So we've had control, because I know getting control of the system and the various units was a year-long process. So it was fully operational and under control in 2009. So my question is, between that time and this time, it has been working the way it's supposed to be working. This particular winter, and I'm sure everyone will agree, has been an extreme. I don't remember it ever being this cold for this long, for this many days, in these, harsh conditions. Is it an anomaly? Is it something that's gonna happen year after year? Who knows? But, so the system does work. We just have, is it wise for us to be in a position to, my concern is for the life of the system. You and I were talking about this, that if you let the system be stressed like it is right now, year after year, you decrease the lifespan of the system.
Sure.
And the money to rebuild it's not gonna happen, so that's why it's something to look at.
It is, and another poor analogy is, it's changing the oil every 3,000 versus every 15,000, on it. Again, next year could be a winter of 35 to 40 degrees where it's not really working all that often, which is great, wonderful. But if it is another extreme, I do fear that some of the same issues will pop up, and those issues again are reflective of stress on the system. And again, with us not being the specific experts on it, we are relying on outside people to help and to advise. And so when we do get that advice, I'll bring it to the board and we can discuss there as well too. This is something, again, at this point that I don't think it would be wise for us to rush into. Not at all. This is something that we probably occur over the summer as well too. And I think that there's the possibility for us to, even within that bid, save a little bit of money by having some of our guys run some of the lines in there as well too. So again, just at this point in time, waiting on that expert opinion before we bring a suggestion to the board education.
Brian, do we know of any other districts or any other people that have had this experience, the same thing that we're going through right now?
Yeah, there's an identical experience happening up in Marysville right now. They put almost an identical system to ours, same engineers, into their building. And we've heard very similar feedback that they're having some of the exact same issues that we are with the extremes that we've been having.
Okay.
Yeah. Evan, anything you'd like to add? Did I do that justice?
That's great.
Okay.
So this is just the high school system?
This would be both high school and middle school. And we did put this out as an RFP. When we got the first estimate on it, we wanted to make sure that we were securing the lowest cost possible. And so we did put it out for an RFP. We only did get one bid back from Macomb Mechanical, and that approximation was $82,000. Again, we think we could probably save $10,000 to $15,000 by our guys doing some of the preliminary setup work in that. But again, this isn't something that we're gonna take lightly, and I won't bring it to you unless we're 100% confident this is gonna help aid and elongate the life process. So more to come on that as Evan and I consult with experts. Next thing I want to talk about is budget surveys. I've been updating you. I've been out hitting the trail pretty hard. I have completed 6 presentations to date. I have the 7th presentation this Thursday. And the audiences that I've spoken to now range all the way from elementary levels to middle level to high school levels as well too. The open forum for the community is this Thursday as well too. The groups have been great to talk to. We all understand and set the premise that this isn't something that is fun to talk about, but I think everybody realizes that the need is now to make sure that we are not getting ourselves into the situation where we have to do a deficit elimination plan. I think just by watching the news that we are seeing districts out there that are subject to those deficit elimination plans, and the undue stress that's put upon them, and also the fact that Lansing then gets to tell you yes or no and has control over your decisions. And so the groups have been great. The feedback has been very, very valuable. And like I said, I have one more to do this Thursday, and then there's a high school group beyond that, and I'll have all of that set to go.
What's your attendance?
It's been sporadic. Some groups have been very big, and some have been a little bit smaller. The Fairhaven Elementary group wins the prize. They numbered near 30. Algonac was in the 20s, the boosters that evening. We had 20, 30 people. The middle school was a little bit lower. Millside, we had somewhere around 10, I think, well. So I'm in that 100-ish range. I would assume there's going to be a rather large audience on Thursday evening, and that'd be great to get the most feedback possible. But it's been a very wide range of people, and I think, as you can imagine, depending on which group you talk to, some of the answers you get are drastically different. But in the middle, when we are aggregating all these results, I think a clearer picture will develop. On a good news end of that, I wrote to you that the governor's proposal came out, and it looks to us that as a worst case scenario, if the governor's budget were adopted as is, we could be looking at a potential adjustment near $280,000 to $300,000 to the positive, which is great. It's nice to be able to see that light coming at us from the end of the tunnel now. That certainly doesn't solve our entire problem, but helps. And so it's our hope that when this does finally get solidified, that it's even more than it is now. That tends to happen when the other side of the political arena gets a hold of it. So I think if it goes as passed, then we're going to be $280,000 to $300,000 to the good, which takes from that original $1 million that we had looked at and reduces it down into the $700,000 range. And depending on our budget audits as well too, it'll give us a much clearer picture of where we need to go to get ourselves within that 6 to 7.5% range we talked about years, months back. I had also emailed you today as well too. One thing that really hadn't been on my radar within these budget presentations was the possibility of a buyout. I didn't anticipate that there would be staff members that were interested, and as it happens, as I'm out presenting, usually a staff member will grab me afterward and say, can I have a side conversation with you? And I've been approached now by several staff members asking of the possibility of a buyout. And so this has come to realization rather quickly. And it looks that there would be in the neighborhood of around 4 to 5 staff members interested in it. And so I sent you guys out some possible numbers today of what that could look like as realized savings for the school district. Again, it's hard to pin exact numbers on what that would be because it's based largely on A, how many we get, and B, how many we have to replace. But worst case scenario and best case scenarios look to be pretty advantageous for us. So I'll keep the board posted as the AEA and I talk a little bit further on the possibilities of a buyout and realized savings that could come to the district. Mr. Baranowski had brought up in our organizational meeting about presenting our audit out for bid, and Lori has completed that process. The audit is out for bid right now, and I believe the bids are due back March 10th. Is that accurate, Lori?
I think it's 11.
March 11th, and so we will have those bids back March 11th. Once we get that back, I'll get that information out to you, and then we can put that on the agenda for March as well too to act on. So we haven't gotten information back yet, but again, pretty soon we should get some numbers back and see potential savings there. I'm going to ask Melissa to talk just for a second here. She had her second year-round school committee meeting this evening at 5 o'clock. I sent the board the first summation that she had, and her committee is about 20 people strong, made up of a wide variety of stakeholders. So I'm going to ask Melissa to speak just for a second at meetings, first and second, a quick summation of where they're at in the process.
At the first meeting, we discussed and went through a brief PowerPoint of pros and cons, but the research varies out there if you've read on year-round school or balanced calendar schools. So we took the next week to really do the research on what's out there, what we can see, and then also to contact a few school districts that are currently doing year-round school or a balanced calendar school, and hear some feedback from that as well. So lots of feedback. So tonight we met, and what we did was we took the research that we could all agree on and say this is what best fits, this is what research says is best for students, and we took that and we developed a tentative calendar, a possibility for a tentative calendar at this point. And then we're looking at developing a parent survey currently to get out to our community and our parents to see where the likelihood is of doing this and what they want to see in a balanced calendar school. So we will also be attending a few parent meetings for other districts to see what they're presenting to their staffs and their parents as well, to see where we are in the talking block. And we set up meetings to go speak to the individual parent groups. So collecting a lot of information right now from the community and developing that calendar and what that may look like, talking to staff and getting everybody on board. So we're in the thick of it.
And then finally for me, I wrote to you in the last Friday letter that we are right on the verge of enhancing our parent communication system. After some of the recent events that we've had at our schools, a lot of the feedback we've gotten is that our communication system are reaching a majority, but they're not reaching all. And even though we think we're in the 90% range when it comes to emergency situations or information that we need to get out rapidly, 90% to me just isn't acceptable. We want to get that up as high as possible. And so I made a phone call to our technology department and said, okay, criteria number 1, free. Criteria number 2, I want parents to be able to opt into this system, to not only be able to receive phone calls, but also texts and emails. And as is usual, our tech department, I think, hit a home run with this. We have a system now that will be able to allow parents to opt in, be able to receive text, be able to receive emails, and be able to prioritize the lines that are contacted first. When this system was tested, I was used as the guinea pig, and it's kind of overwhelming, which is what I'm looking for. So we did a sample, and all of a sudden I get a text and email, my phone starts ringing all at the same time. That is exactly what we're looking for, so people are bombarded with communication. We are close, we are within a week or two of being able to make this happen, to further enhance how we get our messages across, whether it be an emergency situation at the school or something the other day when we do something outside the box, like not transporting on dirt roads. So this is coming. We should probably have it rolled out within a week or two, and very excited for the frequency of the communication to be increased, and hopefully we get above that 90% tier and get ourselves closer to that 100% range. So kudos to our tech department. Changes are coming on that and will be rolled out to parents very, very soon. And I will throw one plug real quick here. The Algonac Sports Boosters is on March 8th, but I also want to note that the Rotary Ramble is also on March 8th as well too. And if anyone's interested in tickets for that event, they can see me and I do it, and I can provide those tickets for you. The Rotary's been very, very generous to the schools with sponsorship of multiple programs, from the STEM classroom to the backpack giveaway, also the hot dog roast that we do for Halloween as well. So if interested and you'd like to support the Rotary, please contact me.
Thank you. Visitors and their requests? No. Action items? First, we have an overnight trip request, Wesley Individual State Tournament.
I'll make a motion that the Board of Education approve the overnight trip request to travel to the state wrestling individual tournament in Auburn Hills on February 28th through March 2nd, giving it no cost for transportation.
Been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Chuck? Okay. Any opposed? That passes. Additional ground space lease with new singular wireless.
If you don't mind, can I get a little background on this? Okay.
Someone?
I'll make a motion, Board of Education approves the additional ground space lease agreement as presented between the school district and the new cellular wireless release, of the property located behind the Algonac High School for a period of 5 years with renewal terms of 4 additional 5-year terms. Complete lease terms are contained in the additional ground space lease agreement.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, just a quick background on this. The one misconception I've heard is that they're building another tower. That there isn't another tower being built. This is simply another antenna going on that tower, and the antenna going on the tower isn't an agreement that we make with the company, because that's between the leasee of the tower. But when you put an antenna up there, there's support structures around the tower that they need enhancement equipment, a little more technical than I completely understand, but they do need to lease additional ground space from us back there. And we took this contract, we sent it to Ms. Sturtridge for review, and the terms are agreeable to us and the conditions are agreeable as well too. And looking forward, if agreed by the board, to the enhanced revenue they can bring to us.
Anyone else? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? That passes. Approval of the KSS invoices.
I'd like to request recusal from the vote due to possible conflict of interest.
I'll make a motion that Susan Trevelcock be recused from the vote on this motion due to a possible conflict of interest. Been moved and supported. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Okay.
I'll make a motion that the Board of Education approve the payment to KSS Enterprises in the full amount of $1,713.14 for the purchase of custodial supplies.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. I'd like to make a motion that the board go into executive session at 7:55 p.m. for the purpose of conducting a student disciplinary hearing. Been moved and supported. Any discussion? For members of the public, there has been confusion in the past. We are going to go into an executive session for the purpose of a student expulsion hearing. Upon resumption in open session, the only matter of business after that will be the action on the expulsion of the student. The board will then return to another executive session for the purpose of evaluating the interim superintendent. But when the board returns from that closed session, the only item of business will be whether to keep Mr. Brutin as an interim superintendent, and the motion would say that we would keep him in his current placement as the interim superintendent with no tenure in the position until such a time that the job is permanently filled, which is due to be no later than July 1st. So with having said all that, if there's anybody that wants to stay, I don't want any confusion and, about people having to be in the cold or whatever, but, there's, whether you wanna hang around for that exciting stuff or not. So if anybody wants to stay, we can accommodate that. Anything else? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Board, I'd like to excuse myself from the disciplinary hearing due to a possible conflict of interest with the student.
Okay, thank you.
Got here now?
No, where did we go?